What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Football Boot Hour with me, James, also known as Boot Wizard here on my channel, my co-host, Andrew, from the Lockhart Boot blog, and as you notice, right in the middle of us, we have a very special guest today. Noah Cavanaugh has come back for more punishment. He can't get enough of us. This is turning into like SNL. It's like, you know, how many times you come back on the podcast. So this is the three-peat for Noah, and we are very happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
You are very, very welcome. So today, housekeeping. My audio may sound different because I've had to change my mic, and I'm looking a different way because essentially my roof basically fell in and everything's wet. But let's not worry about that. We'll move on. Today, we're going to be talking about the worst things in the football boot industry. Please let us know what your thoughts are in the chat. And obviously, if you're watching this on the replay that after it goes up, let us know down in the comments what you think. To start with, though, we're going to go through the normal process today so that I don't forget anything. We're going to start with, what have you been wearing? How has our week been? And I think it's only fair to kick off with our guest, Noah. What have you been wearing this week?
Fantastic. So super huge thanks. I'll start off with an absolute banger. Huge thanks to Andrew for getting these out. So these are the Mizuno Wave Cup SS Japans. And
oh my word.
I gotta tell you, Andrew and I had like a short conversation prior about how incredible they are, but I gotta say these, depending on your definition of boot of the year, as far as, hey, do you include special editions? Do you include special releases? All that stuff, right? This should be boot of the year for me. This is like above everything else. It is that good because
that's huge.
It takes all of the best aspects of the Morelia 2, which of course is already a god tier football boot, and just turns it up to 11. It's like all the best pieces of that, and it's got a really cool tongue, and it's red, white, and blue. So there's a little bit of patriotism going on there. So I got a huge shout out to that. I have been wearing the updated version of the SKX, which has been super interesting. There's some really cool thoughts, which I'm sure we'll get into later in the pod as well, about sort of minor versus major upgrades in football boots and like how that is really good or really bad. So that's been cool. And then really the other one that was sort of a surprise, honestly, to me is these, actually. The Umbro Velocita Matrix Pros. And these have been like a very, very surprising football boot, because if you've seen my review of the previous generation Velocita, it was super negative. And I was like, no one should ever buy these or touch these ever in their life. And that is not the case with these anymore. So that's cool.
Yes. I love to hear that. I really want to test like a pair of those. So.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, if all goes well, I've got a pair on the way to me, so I will get to test those. I'm very excited to give them a go. It's about time that we had something positive from Umbro. I think we're all rooting for them. We just need them to deliver.
Totally.
But yeah, those Mizunos are special, man. They look incredible. So, Andrew, you obviously just dropped your Sakito Scudetta review, which is an absolutely incredible read. So is that where you're at with what you've been trying?
Yes. I guess I should have included maybe the only negative about these is they get dirty pretty quickly in the grass, but at the same time, it's almost like it needs that in some ways, you know.
There are some boots that just need dirtying up a little.
Yeah, I've got some stains on the front and stuff.
You see, that looks good.
Yeah. They're so good. It's ridiculous how good these boots are. I messaged J Mike about it yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, they're really good."
Yeah, I watched. So I tend to try and avoid reviews before I've done my own review, and I managed to do that with the Sakito. Like I literally avoided everything, because sometimes you roughly know what's coming because of like previous generations and things like that. Like the GX2, you had a good idea of what you're going to get because of the GX1. Whereas with this, the Scudetta, it was genuinely an opportunity to be pretty blank about what you were getting if I hadn't seen any reviews. So I tried to do that. And then once I'd put out my initial kind of like first thoughts review, I went and watched a few reviews, and I watched the Boot Nerds podcast on them. And it was interesting to see like their take and how like J Mike was so positive. And Josh was very much like, oh, I like them, but they weren't for him. You know what I mean? There's obviously something about them that doesn't. He's like, hey, it's a great football boot, but maybe they're not for me. So that was interesting, because until then I'd kind of only, my impression from having them was like, okay, so these are the best thing that have ever happened. But like, I love those boots. They're so good. For me, I've got one quick session in this week. The weather has been horrendous, and I'm too old to be going out in awful, awful weather conditions. So these are my what we got on. So last week I got out the Acros, and this week we're gone for the X-Fly Pro 2s in the old synthetic. So far, this is a very minimal testing. So far, I really, really like them. Like, they're fantastic. But I am still leaning towards the X-Fly, the X-Fly 5, that as my preference. But when that's your level, when those are your two options, like that's a pretty good time you're having. If those are your, like, that's your benchmark, is like, oh, it's not quite as good as what I literally called my boot of the year this year. I know it came out last year, but I didn't get to try it till this year.
No, that's fine.
So, I think that's fair for now.
See, no,
you do what you like with boot of the year. I'm doing things from last year.
I always think, for me, boot of the year is whatever you tested in any given year.
That's how I feel. Yeah. And I think it can be anything.
Yep.
Nice. Okay, let's. That's a really nice array of boots. That's the first time we've been like, oh, look at all these three incredible boots that we've been trying. But we have had some new releases. We want to rank them. Now, as I say, we have had floods. My ceiling nearly fell in. All good stuff today. So we don't have anything up on the screen if you're watching live, but I will put it up in the edit. It's a miracle the podcast is happening. I'm just saying that. So we will start with what Andrew has informed me the name of. This is the Mizuno Morelia, was it 2M8? I just know it as the short tongue Morelia. So we wanted to talk about this and rank it. So our tier ranking is great, good, meh, bad, and awful. Noah, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so starting with, how's that audio, by the way? Is that better?
It's better.
A little bit better? I can turn it down again.
Just a skosh.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mine better? Kind of auto changes everything, so I'm not the person to ask.
Okay. For me, I'm giving the M8 Morelia 2 top marks.
Yeah.
Period.
It's great. Just up in the top. It looks
so good.
It really does. And I apologize for not having the images up. They will go up. You should just go and Google it right now. Just Google it while you're listening to us. Andrew, I assume you're in a similar boat?
Yeah, God tier.
Yeah.
They're so nice. And that M8 stitch is excellent.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So I think that's a universal great without worrying about it too much at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, let's go the other direction, potentially the other direction. You see what my thoughts are. So this is the new Under Armour pack. We've got a new Shadow Pro and new Magnetico in this kind of gray and yellow colorway. Noah, thoughts on that one?
They're meh at best. I just from a color perspective, I think they're pretty bad looking. I saw them in person several months ago at the Under Armour headquarters, and I was like,
why don't you
guys, my reaction wasn't so great, and they were like, do you not like this one? And I was like, no, not at all. So I'm gonna go with bad.
Always go bad. Okay.
Yeah, I just think that's a poor decision. It's similar to the, what was it? Vapor
11.
11. That was gray with the yellow on the back.
Oh.
No, sorry. Vapor 12.
Yeah.
Vapor 12.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, it mirrors that colorway. That colorway was not very good, and I don't think this colorway is very good. So I'm going bad.
Andrew, where are you at?
Well, they've had I think I didn't agree with Noah because they've had some awesome colorways in that boot. The
The
off-white and
Shadow
gold
Pro,
was
yeah.
excellent. The white blue, even the all black one looked really good because it was toned with a different tone.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a pretty subpar effort from them. So yeah, I'll go bad as well.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a trio of bad. I like the Shadow Pro as a boot. I think they've had some great colorways in it. My little humble brag is that I have an unreleased colorway in the Shadow Pro 2.
Oh yeah,
How fancy
both of
am I?
you do.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's something about. I'm yet to think of a concept for that Magnetico boot that will actually look good. I don't know how you make that boot look good. It doesn't really matter what color you put on it; it just doesn't seem to work. But yeah, this pack is unfortunately bad. Under Armour have been doing great stuff. I think they're in a good direction, but that one's not doing it.
Yep.
Okay, next up we have the Puma Lights Out pack, which is yet another Puma pack, as just dropped seemingly minutes after they dropped the Unisport Special Edition, and with a similar kind of vibe, colorways, I feel. But yes, another Puma pack with Puma doing more of Puma things. Noah, what are your thoughts?
Do you want a pack as a whole or individual?
Hey, whatever you fancy. Individual works.
Okay, perfect. I'll go quick. So I'll go Ultra for me is good. I actually like the way the Ultra looks. I'm a fan of kind of contrasty bright colors, so that's cool. The King I also like, but I'm gonna give it a meh because it's not quite there yet. And I'm gonna go meh for the Future as well. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, that's I might be harsher than that for once. Andrew, what do you reckon?
I'm going to I'll put the Ultra in meh and then everything else in bad.
Okay.
It just doesn't do it for me at all.
So I'm at the Ultra. I agree with Noah. I think is good. The more I look at it, the more I like it. Ultra, good.
I'll give it good then.
Okay, we'll go good overall for that one. But the Future, no question, is bad for me. I do not like that Future one bit. And my opinion is somewhat tainted by the fact that I really don't like the boot either.
Stop it.
Bad. And I think the King probably edges into bad there for me as well, without quite so much bias, because I don't mind the new King. So Future, I think, is bad. Do we have a consensus on the King? Are we going meh or bad?
I'm okay leaning bad. I don't mind. Like, that colorway is pretty bland for me.
Bad it is. So we got bad for the Future, bad for the King, and good for the Ultra.
Like we mentioned in the chat, it looks like an old Legend 6 colorway.
Yeah.
It does.
Like same shades and everything.
Yeah.
Totally.
That is not a kind comparison considering how good Legend 6 was compared to this. Oh, James likes the boot. Never mind.
I don't mind the current King. I don't mind it. I think it's a big improvement. It's wearable now. I haven't got my review out on it yet, but I have filmed it and tested the boots, and I don't think it's bad. I'm not blown away by it, but I would, if somebody gave me a pair, I wouldn't complain too much. Noah's review of the King is out, I believe.
It's coming soon, I think. Or did I already release it? I can't remember.
I think you already released that. I think that's already out.
Okay. No. I'll have to look. I genuinely
too much content, Noah. Too much content.
Oh no, it hasn't released yet. It hasn't. It's coming out next. I think it's coming out next week or the week following.
I must have seen something else. I can't remember. Did you do a short for it or something?
Vapor 16 review, man. Like every video of his, like I look in the comments and I'm just like, guys, come on.
We'll get there. This can be our first point for Room 101, I think. Okay, and finally so we have the ASICS C3 Turf in a gold and white colorway. which is, I'm just going to say it straight off. It's great. It's gorgeous. It's amazing. I love it. Noah?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think it looks beautiful. To be fair, that whatever they did to design the ASICS logo with the kind of the stripe, the two stripes, whatever, no matter what the colorway is, and also their philosophy of kind of keeping it simple, every single colorway they have is like meh or above. It's like there's nothing that's bad ever.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
I just wish they bring back the actual cleats, like the boots.
Mm.
Because the boots were out back in the day. Oh my gosh. They were stupid nice. So they were made in Japan, and they had this thing on there's this little detail when you flip the tongue over a little bit and says, "My dream is infinite." And it was just
nice.
Oh, so cool. They're such a great pair. They are so hard to find now, but my goodness, what a banger pair of boots.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay, so they're going in great. We have decided. And I think we were edging towards today's topic just there for a second. So let's just dive straight in. We might just have a quick look at the chat here. Yes, there he is. I just wanted to say a big shout out to Yuli in the chat as
watching from the stadium,
who is literally at a Carolina soccer game right now. He's watching from the Bank of America Stadium. So thank you very much for joining us while being at the stadium. Alan Diaz is here. Teo Skills is here. Footloose Boots has joined us. Thank you very much. Has spoken ill of the Under Armour Magnetico as well. Josh Paul said Just Forever released the Puma V106. And Teo Skills, at least we have a bigger variety to choose from. This is quite true. Okay, hold on. Right, so let's move on to Room 101. Let's get angry. So we love having Noah on the podcast, but we know Noah is great for a rant, which is kind of why we've got him on this episode. Noah loves a rant. We love a rant. And I think it's very rare that I'm on anything with people where I'm the one that's the least ranty, which I think is impressive. So I think we should start with where we were for just a second there, which is this notion of reviews and the demand for reviews and the demanding of reviews. We will get into specifically boots very soon. I think this is something we should address. And I think the best way to address it is to pass to my ranty friend, Noah. What are your thoughts on this demanding of reviews that you seem to get? More so than anybody else I've ever seen, by the way, is you get this demand.
Yeah, so there's two ways that my brain kind of goes with this. One is, this is what I signed up for, and so I have to sort of be like part of playing the game is also fielding all of these demands, so to speak. That being said, no one in the audience, other than maybe the two of you, well, I know the two of you, J. Mike, Josh, a couple other guys in this boot world, actually know what it takes to produce content, period. And then there's, okay, but can you produce 3-4 videos a week for 3 or 4 years, which I've been doing now? And so that level of work, no one in the audience will ever understand. And so there's a level of acceptance of like, okay, it's literally just naivete. This person doesn't know. And then there's a level of like, are you kidding? Like, I've just released 4 videos this week, and you're complaining that the one you didn't want to see, it hasn't been reviewed. It's like, there's a lot of expletives that I want to like start going. I'm going to try to keep it PG.
This is why I can mute my mic at random times. It's great.
Yes.
To be fair, good. we can take an executive decision on this episode, and if we want to use expletives, we can, because I can. If it's just an individual episode, I just mark it as such, and we're good. So if you guys want to go for it, knock yourselves out. Like, just do it.
I'm okay. No, I'm okay to keep it as PG as possible. It'll allow my words to be a little more eloquent in that way instead of just swearing my way through this. Yeah. No, but I do think there's not a we are currently living in a world with a lot of younger people, like the younger audience that watches us isn't
Hmm.
watching us from a place of gratitude and, oh my gosh, this person created this thing because,
Hmm.
it's an appreciation of an art form or what, like however you see the
Yeah.
videos, it doesn't matter. If you see them purely out of utility, totally fine. And you just want information, that's great. If you see it because it's got beautiful color grading, or you see that James has the amazing camera movement on his, like, whatever, no matter what the reason for you watching a video is, it doesn't matter. But I think it would really be appreciative if there was more of an attitude of gratitude when you watch the
Hmm.
stuff. Feel free to ask really good questions. Feel free to critique the stuff. Like, I don't mind somebody being like, "Hey, I'd rather see this instead of this." Amazing. That's such good information.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when a person sits in the comment section and is like, day 65 of me, wanting this review, I'm literally like, you wouldn't last a day working with me. You wouldn't even last
Yeah.
half a day working with me because of the velocity with which I'm moving. And that's where
Yeah.
it's like, at some level, it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? So I don't know. I just, an appreciation for the craft would be really nice.
I
Yeah.
specifically remember one of Noah's stories where he was like, he went on just a short rant, and he was like, by the way, and I do this for free. And it was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, that kind of really drives home. Like, we put a lot of money and time and effort into this. And at the end of the day, like, our content's like, we all have things that we have. Well, Noah has stuff that he can actually sell because he's smarter than both of us about this. But like, for the most part, this content is free, right? Like,
100%.
people complaining about free stuff, it just drives me up the wall. And then the whole, you work your butt off for like a week, get a bunch of stuff out, and people are like, what about this review? And it's like, shut up.
Yeah, I think we work hard to produce the content that we produce. We all have a lot of other stuff going on as well. Like, obviously, I'm working a full-time job to pay the bills so that I can actually do this. And don't get me wrong, I'm not doing it from anything other than I want to, because I
Mm-hmm.
love doing this. So it's kind of like, obviously, as Noah's saying, there's an appreciation for people who are even watching my videos. And I
Definitely.
appreciate every person who comes and watches. I appreciate every person who likes, who subscribes, who leaves me a comment and says like, oh, I really enjoyed that. Or, oh, could you maybe like add in this information for the next one, or asks me a question.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate all of that. But yeah, what I don't appreciate is and the thing that bugs me is I know what they've done, and they've clicked on the video and written the comment and left the video.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so not only have you not bothered watching the video that I have just spent hours just editing, days testing and everything like that, you've then just left a comment and pissed off, which has also hurt the video in the YouTube algorithm terms.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, could you not? I appreciate you as a viewer. So if you could please appreciate the time and effort that we put in, that would
Yep.
be lovely.
Yeah.
Like that's where I'm at. I feel like that could
Yeah.
turn into like an hour-long rant all by itself.
It could. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we should definitely move on. But I did see a comment in the chat there. So this is THO, who says, as someone who makes long-form video essays, it takes me 2 to 3 weeks to make a video, and the first comment is always someone saying some bullshit. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fair enough. Like, and I have so much respect for these people who do make these really long form videos as well.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm the opposite of like the current kind of generation. I love a TikTok scroll and whatever, but I love a long form video. Like, give me like some long content that I can just put on.
I watch so many video essays.
Yeah, baby, love that. Okay, moving on to our next point. So we have 2 options here. Does anybody have anything they want to bring up, or we have a list of suggestions, and should I dive into one of those?
let's do the suggestions first.
Let's do suggestions. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was a suggestion that actually came through to Noah, and this is, I think it's been suggested more than once, but the first two that I see are from Sergio.Reiko, who's a regular contributor, and Boot Banter insoles. So insoles in expensive boots, cheap insoles in expensive boots. Noah, would you like to give us your thoughts on brands putting terrible insoles in expensive boots to, all we're doing here is we're convincing ourselves, does this belong in room 101?
So, yes, I think it does. And the reason I think it does is I'm going to bring back a boot that I have been trying out and wearing a lot this week, and that's the Skechers SKX. Because Skechers went, you know what? This is a really easy, this is like low-hanging fruit for us. We are going to put our Hyperburst Pro insole, which is from their running shoes, which Skechers running shoes, they're fine. But yeah, they're whatever. But the material on here is substantial. It feels good. It's very, very plush and nice. And guess what? It probably costs less than half a cent to produce over something out of a mercurial like this. Like the difference between
I'm glad you have that. I was literally looking for my mercurial there. I was going to get it, but you have one, so we'll leave it with that.
No, 100%. So the difference between like this one, which is the mercurial sole, which is the mercurial insole, and it's pretty bad. I mean, that's like there's nothing there. It's cheap. It's whatever. And this one, which you can tell like the difference between creasing, right? So it folds like at a point, and you bend it like this, and it bends perfectly like that, like just the quality difference and the underfoot feel of something like this makes such a big difference. And it's like, man, that's like the lowest hanging fruit other than adding a second pair of laces with a different color. You know, that's like, it's such an easy one for brands to do, and yet they still don't. And it absolutely blows me away. Like, I think that would add so much comfort to so many different pairs of boots.
Yeah.
I know you're obviously very irked by this, Andrew, because you and I have discussed this on the Mercurials many times. So what would you like to just express your thoughts?
Well, I need to mute myself first because the insole and
I love that button.
It's so bad. Like, okay, the Mercurial Vapor 2 had like pour-on inserts on high pressure points. The Vapor 2, the Vapor 3 had it, the Vapor 4 had it, the 5 had it, and then they just started going backwards over time. And this most recent one's kind of it's kind of a spit in the face. Like, we really don't care. It's just another place. I mentioned this in my Scudetta review. Go read it. That they like Scudetta Sokito did a good job with the insoles, but the the current Vapor, not at all. Okay, yeah, the Superfly has a slightly different insole from the regular Vapors because of the what do you call it? The retracting
sense stud thing.
Sense studs, yes. So it's slightly different in the Superfly.
Got
but yeah,
the one.
Yeah. So they've got like two little
bumps. It's so hard to see.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even that, look how nice that insole is. Like, okay, yeah, that was a super expensive boot, but like
it's a lot nicer than the current.
Yeah, the current Vapor isn't cheap, and yet so many places on that boot they were just like, we can get away with being cheap here. It's like you're increasing the price of boots and expecting us to just swallow it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, I think the Vapor was the tipping point for me personally. Like, I've kind of accepted it over like a while, but then and the Vapor 15 wasn't good, and I feel like it was actually the same on the 15 as the 16, but there's just something about this Vapor 16 and it having a cheap insole that really pissed me off. It was just, I'm like, why is this insole in this boot? When, like Noah said, it's about half a cent to fix that, to put something that's half decent in there. You improve the comfort of the boot, and you don't look like you're just skimping. Now, Nike could make this argument. They're like, oh, we've got the Air Zoom and it has to be kind of like hollowed out, etc. Fine, okay, you make that argument, but then make the top layer of your insole something that's not utterly crap. Like Mizuno obviously used the Zero Glide for theirs and stuff, which is incredible. Even Puma, it's not amazing, but their nanotech, it's okay. Like they're at least trying something there. But there's, I think Adidas with some of their stuff do a great job with just the microfiber synthetic. The microfiber synthetic that Adidas use is really nice. Don't get me wrong. I still think some of their insoles could be better, but at least I feel like, oh, this feels premium, and it feels like there was some thought that went into it that's like, oh, we've made this out of a nice material. It's designed to do X, Y, and Z. If you take the insole out of the current mercurial and you slapped it into a club level boot, I am not kidding, a club level boot,
same.
I would be like, yeah, that's what I was expecting. Like, it's a disaster. And the key point is, of course, 260 euro boots now?
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, so I think we are unanimous that insoles definitely go into room 101. If people are, if obviously they continue to make these terrible ones. So I've got an interesting one here, actually. This is from Kick It with Colbs. It's more of a question, but I think we should definitely talk about it and then see if we should take the concept and the boot and put it into room 101. So this is from Colby, who's part of the Bootcast podcast. Go and watch them. They're amazing. They have some really fun kind of like 45-minute podcast episodes.
Yeah.
I tune into those every single week. Yeah, like none of us ranting nonsense. They're really entertaining. I strongly recommend go checking them out. And Colby said, did Nike crash the Tiempo 10 on purpose? Which I think is a very interesting concept. We'll go straight to you first, Noah. What are your thoughts? Did Nike crash the Tiempo 10 on purpose? And does the Tiempo 10 and the current Tiempo belong in room 101?
Yes, to all the above.
Well, that was quick. No.
I think I'm using this very carefully. I think the current Tiempo 10 is a fucking disgrace.
Yes.
Period. It just is. And there was no way that Nike could take K-Leather off the table and it not be a disgrace. But the way that they've chosen to market this new boot and the way they've chosen to try and build hype around this new Tiempo is absolutely horrific to me. I think it is. So let's zoom out, right? So K-Leather, kangaroo leather, is not in a shortage, but in fact, it's. I live in Australia, which is where kangaroos are, and the kangaroo, like, people are hired to go kill kangaroos because they are a pest, because there are so many of them. The issue is that K-Leather to produce, yes, is slightly more expensive than synthetic or synthetics of any sort. Now, could you factor in the cost of creating, what's the cost of creating K-Leather for, let's say, Tiempo Legend 9 Elite, right? The last leather Tiempo. So what was the marginal cost of creating Tiempo Legend 9 Elite for a year and a half or 18 months or whatever that period of time it released to what was the cost of the R&D and everything else that went into creating the synthetic that is now the Tiempo 10. So you have to kind of weigh all that stuff up. K-Leather should exist and needs to exist on football boots, period, end of story. If you are going to call yourself a legitimate brand, you have to have a K-Leather football boot, in my opinion. And I think there's an argument to be made that Nike's philosophy of always innovate has gone a step too far with this one, because you are losing customers, you are handing the likes of Mizuno, Asics, all this stuff, which, again, them being deserving is a different question, but you are handing them market share. You are basically saying, we are going to bend over for you guys because you're better than us. And to me, if I'm a Nike executive, I'm sitting there going, what have we done? Because we have just lost half of our consumer base. Because what does half the kids in the world say? At least in my generation growing up, it was like, oh, what do you wear? Oh, dude, Tiempo, can't beat a Tiempo because they're leather and they're so comfortable and whatever. And to me, the new generation of Tiempo is, I think, ties in one more little like micro topic that maybe we can hit on as well, which is there is an excessive focus on aesthetics. So they're prioritizing what the design and the look of the boot looks like versus what the actual form and function. Because the fit sucks, the material's not very good. In terms of the synthetic, like I would say that the synthetic leather on every other synthetic leather football boot on the market is better than the Tiempo 10. The King is better. The Asics that's an easy one. That's obviously much better. A lot of these other, I'm trying to think of what other ones I'm missing because I'm, just absolutely fuming right now. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like it's one of those things that they've brought in a product and tried to market it as this new innovation and whatever. And it's like, you've taken so many steps backwards to create a really poor product. It's just, again, it's a fucking disgrace. That's the key point there.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, would you like to add to that? Because I know you're not a fan either.
I agree with everything Noah says. I've mentioned this before, but Jason from Boot Hype was like, don't review the Legend 10. Don't review it. You're going to hate it. And again, Nike is a marketing company that just happens to sell shoes. And that very fact blows up in their face every once in a while. And I've mentioned this before too. Since as early as like 2009, Nike had been talking about wanting to make the Tiempo a synthetic. They've wanted this for years to get out of the kangaroo leather supply chain because like they couldn't directly, I argue, is because they couldn't directly control it. And now they've brought everything in-house. It's their R&D, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, Nike's R&D has a pretty good track record with a lot of stuff. And then for this, they either just, it kind of reminds me of how Adidas used to be. Like a lot of people used to say Adidas was very arrogant with their product releases. Like they didn't do enough like good updates with a lot of their stuff. And I think this is what Nike is now. They're just very arrogant. They're like, they can put shit on a stick and people will buy it. And the new Tiempo has proven that's not true. I mean, they're so cheap here now. It's ridiculous. I can pick up a pair for like $100 of the Elite. And the thing is, like, I'm sure the initial R&D for synthetics most of the time is more expensive, but it gets cheaper as time goes on because you use the material longer, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that they had the nerve to raise the price of these boots on top of getting getting rid of kangaroo leather is like, I mean, it's hilarious, but also like just sad and indicative of the state of some of these companies.
So I get to come at this from an interesting point, from an interesting angle, because I'm a vegan. So I have no interest in kangaroo leather boots. Like, none whatsoever. Don't buy them, don't wear them. Like, none whatsoever. It doesn't make the Tiempo 10 a great boot. It means that it's the first Tiempo in forever that I've been able to wear, which I definitely enjoyed, being able to actually step into a Tiempo. So I'm probably more positive on the Tiempo than a lot of people are, purely on the basis that I can now wear it. But here's where my problem lies mainly. So yeah, we can talk about the fact that I agree with Noah, that synthetic upper, it's not a bad upper, but it's absolutely not a synthetic leather. It's not even close. And I really don't like that the toe box is square. Why is the toe box square? But anyway, my issue, coming from a position of somebody who's vegan and doesn't mind seeing boots that aren't kangaroo leather, that they have done this and tried to market it as this is a more sustainable, more environmentally friendly boot. And I don't think it is. I don't think that they've actually done anything that is trying to move that needle in any way. And we've spoken about Sakito a lot. Sakito are evidence of this. What they're doing is they're essentially greenwashing. They're marketing as, we have taken away from leather because it's killing animals and, all this kind of stuff, and the tanning procedures and all this stuff. And I'm like, and we're going for this synthetic, and look at us, we're this big environmentally friendly company. We're doing all these things for the environment. And I'm like, bullshit. You wanted to make your boot cheaper. You wanted to get out of the kangaroo leather. You wanted to do something different, and you wanted to position that as you being environmentally friendly. You wanted to basically be like, hey, look how great we are, when in actual fact you're not great at all, and you haven't considered this one bit. All you've thought of is an angle to market your new boots, which you might have got away with had they been good. Now, again, as much as I don't personally have a huge want or need to see kangaroo leather football boots, if you're going to make a Tiempo, you need to make it kangaroo leather. That's the long and short of it. If you don't want to make a kangaroo leather football boot, then don't make a Tiempo. That's, and like I say, from somebody who doesn't really care for leather boots, just don't make a goddamn Tiempo. Change it, call it something else, release a new line. Don't piss around. So yeah, from a different point of view, I still think it's crap.
I want to this could be a podcast or a huge rant in itself, but I want to touch on greenwashing real quick, because Nike is being more environmentally friendly. Someone points out in the chat that Footloose Boost says it's only like 20% recycled materials, so not good. Let's add to the fact that Nike has fired almost their entire team for their brain trust of people who are trying to make the company more environmentally friendly. Then there's a ProPublica report about the executives using private airplanes for short flights that could have easily been car rides and things like that. And then just yesterday, ProPublica also reported that Nike made it more difficult to now track their private flights, because there's a loophole in the aviation law that allows for that. So yeah, they're not being environmentally friendly. They don't give a shit. They just want to appear like it. They've gotten they're environmentally friendly until they think it affects their bottom line. So,
for sure. And you say it was a whole podcast. It almost was a whole podcast. We did a whole podcast on essentially this topic. We lent into it really hard. So if you haven't seen that, I will link it down in the description if you're watching this on the recap. It was a really enjoyable podcast. Definitely go check that out. We essentially slammed Nike's green washing nonsense for about 45 minutes. So, that's all good. So I think we're in agreement that the Tiempo was a terrible idea in its current state, and it's also not an adequate boot. And I do actually want to mention, Noah, you obviously mentioned excessive focus on aesthetics there, and you have with you those new, what are those new materials that you've got down with you?
Cosmic Speeds.
The Cosmic Speeds. Is that not just the perfect example of aesthetics over function? Because you essentially have huge swathes of that boot that don't have the grip knit feeling. They don't feel the same. They've actually made the boot worse for the sake of aesthetics.
Yeah, the new PVD. So I took these out for a session that I filmed with two NPL boys who are both great footballers, and they're me and the buddy were actually wearing these, and he hadn't tried the new 16s on, period. So he was like, these are the best Vapors ever. And fair enough, comfort wise, they're super comfy. They're great. Yeah, they're good football boots. But as a person who's a GX enthusiast, as a person who's a grip knit enthusiast, as a person who's actually tried and worn whatever the other I have them somewhere. Oh, here they are. These ones, like the regular colorway, the blueprints, right? The difference in actually playing in these boots is shocking. It's like grip knit doesn't even exist. Like the entire upper, it's not even just like this little piece here. The entirety of the upper isn't sticky anymore at all. So it's like, Oh, it drives me nuts. It's like, okay.
Yeah, like I said, this is why I bring it up, because I really want to put, essentially, I was going to bring that boot up, and you kind of got there before me, that I think this idea of doing things for aesthetics should absolutely go into Room 101 on twofold. One is something like that boot right there, where the entire boot is adjusted for the sake of it looking pretty. And like, why are you making the boot worse? And the thing that annoys me more than that, and I should have brought them, if you have those blueprint mercurials again there, Noah, the swoosh. Why is the swoosh on those a different material? Why is it over the top of the grip knit? And why can I not feel grip knit underneath the goddamn swoosh? Like, you've made this massive effort about this. Oh, look how amazing grip knit is.
The same on
oh,
here,
by the way,
too.
I'm just going to put a swoosh across it that means you can't feel it anyway. And I tell you what, let's just start sticking it in contact zones. Like, like there's a way to do that.
Like, this actually has a little bit of grip to it, and I was like, oh, amazing! You can actually put grip on your logo and stuff. Wow, what a concept!
But there is a way to do that Nike swoosh whereby you can feel the grip knit through it. There is 100% a way to do that, but they've just chosen not to because of aesthetics, essentially. And like, even if they'd have gone with like the hollow swoosh or something like that, like, why? I hate things that ruin the performance, or don't ruin the performance, but they affect the performance of the boot negatively for the sake of aesthetics. And again, as much as we're getting on them a lot right now, and I think Nike are kind of the key culprits for this right now. Anyway, I just wanted to have that rant. If anybody's got anything to add, please do. Okay. You know what? Let's keep ragging on Nike a little bit. There's another suggestion here. I definitely want to bring this up. It's still in kind of the mercurial vein, and it kind of leads across. So this is Ed.Demetz, and he said, companies taking away great tech just for the sake of iterating. And his example is a fantastic example, and it's the anatomical sole plate in the mercurial. So Nike have obviously moved to the Air Zoom pod. Like, that's their big thing, their innovation. They've had it forever, but that's their new big tech. And now there's two ways of looking at this. So this doesn't, like, this is where, does this go into Room 101 or not? Because you can look at it from the point of view of, they have added the Air Zoom unit and made an immeasurably more comfortable mercurial. It's a very, very comfortable boot, and the Air Zoom plays a part in that. However, I would argue that they have made the boot worse performance-wise, and it was far better when they had the anatomical sole plate where you could sit down into it, which I love that sensation of really kind of like just sitting down into the boot and feeling very connected to it. And this new mercurial is very much the opposite of that. So are they doing this? Are they innovating for the sake of innovating, and particularly in this instance? Or are they just moving in a different direction, and I'm getting upset about something that I like that we don't have anymore, which is, something that might be happening. Noah, thoughts?
So my first thing is that Vapor 11 that had the anatomical sole plate, I didn't fit in. So I don't even, like, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it was on what did they have it on? The 11, 12, and
fit on you.
11, 12, and 13 all had it, right?
Yeah. And I fit in 13 kind of, although that boot is...
Until you broke your foot.
Until I broke my foot, yeah. So not really. So Vapor 16 for me is obviously more comfortable, but I do think as a larger point here, the brands that are actually going to be around the longest are the brands that innovate slowly. And there are certain things, I mean, let's take another absolutely gargantuan company. Whether you like them or not, look at a company like Apple. Apple only comes out with micro upgrades, and people get super pissed off because they're like, nothing else is new this year. But it's like, yeah, but if you look at a 5-year ago product and, let's say the iPhone 5 years ago and the iPhone now, there's some pretty significant upgrades. You take that same philosophy into a made in Japan product from Mizuno.
Mhm.
This obviously is a remake, so don't not this actual boot, but you get what I'm saying. But the Morelia 2 or the Morelia Neo series is a great idea. The Morelia Neo 4 looks almost identical to the Morelia Neo 1, or Morelia Neo 2. Like those small upgrades make for a more sustainable growth, and there's a reason why I have never heard a single person say something negative. Maybe they're indifferent, but they're not negative about Mizuno. Like no one, not a single person can say something negative. And that's because they've taken slow steps innovation. And it's like, Nike knows how to slowly innovate. Look at their Pegasus running shoe. Their Pegasus running shoe is like on iteration 44 or whatever. Like it's like it's been the same since I wore the 10 or something, 5 years ago. And it's
ones.
like, yeah, exactly. It's like Nike Pegasus hasn't changed that much, but you know why everyone loves it? Because they know they're going to get what they're going to get when they buy it.
Yeah.
And that's what Nike, I think, in the football boot market right now is really missing, is that like, and that's what I think they ruined going back to the Tiempo. That's what they ruined with the Tiempo. Is like, as much as there were certain things that changed, the knit in the collar material, and they maybe took a little bit of a step back with Tiempo 8, with the quad fit system in it. I didn't think that one was like as good. But for the most part, the Tiempo was always a really comfortable and great football boot. And I think that's what Nike's missing.
Yeah, it kind of speaks to there's the Japanese philosophy of Kaizen that Mizuno uses a lot now, that came from Toyota in the 60s, is gradually improving stuff over time. So like you mentioned, the Neo 4 and the Neo 1, or even the Neo 2 look kind of similar. But if you go back to that Neo 1 and put them back to the Neo 4, they are massively different in a lot of ways. The leather is so much nicer. Even the made in Japan models, the leather, the sole plate, the fit, everything has been massively improved over time. But you don't notice it because they just put these slow iterations. I mean, the Morelia 2 is a prime example. They wouldn't even change the damn name. And it's been the Morelia 2 since 1991. But, even if you compare like the 25th anniversary release to the 35th anniversary, which was 2020 versus 2010, there's a massive difference to how it fits and the weight and the materials themselves. They've upgraded slowly over time. And this isn't to say that brands shouldn't do radical stuff every now and then. I absolutely want to see people just go nuts every once in a while. That's fine. But don't take your mainline products and just go, we're just going to blow this up. Like, did that work for Adidas in 2015? I mean, for the first year, kind of. But after that, like, the Ace died off. Sure, the X, went on to make a name for itself. The Messi didn't sell well, even though it's an amazing series. But, like, they just, that's what they got for trying to go crazy.
And to your point, though, that's what I think. I mean, I've said this a bunch. That's what I think the Superfly should be for Nike.
Yep.
The Superfly
100%.
should be its own silo that is like, dude, do whatever you want to that, and if you screw it up, who cares? Because it's $400.
Yep,
exactly.
Like, who cares?
100%.
Yeah,
go
couldn't
absolutely
agree
nuts.
more.
Hey, boss, I don't think this technology is very viable, but it's worth it. Can we try it? Yes.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of my issues is this idea that you have to innovate, or you have to do something different. It's not even innovation. And rather than ragging on Nike constantly, let's look at Adidas. So, and the X line. So let's say we have the X 18 and 19. Very similar boots, small tweak, but that's within 2 years. By the time you get to the end of the 2 years, they feel like they have to rip up the blueprint and start again. The X19 is a very good boot.
Yes.
They rip it up and they get to the Ghosted, which is a completely different boot. And it's not great. Then they do the Ghosted and the Speed Flow, which is, again, it's a change to something that it's, so here's our philosophy and our idea, this synthetic, and we have this outsole with the Carbotex. So you go from there to there. That's your change. and then they get to speed flow. The speed flow is a really fantastic football boot. But then they feel like after 2 years, they have to rip it up and start again. And you start thinking about obviously what you guys are talking about and how Mizuno maybe are changing slowly and things like this. Imagine where Adidas could be. Like, now, admittedly, their current speed boot is very good, but imagine where they could be if they'd have taken the speed flow and just slowly changed little bits. Like, what boot would we have now? There is a solid argument to be made that the boot we would have now would be better than the F50. Don't get me wrong. I really like the F50. I think it's a fantastic football boot. But speed flow with lots of small changes, or even just like, every year you put a tiny change in or something like that, and you just start to build it up. Every 2 years you put a small change in, you could end up with a really fantastic football boot. And you guys mentioned Mizuno, Asics as well. Now, I've not tried a huge amount of their boots, but I have pretty much most of their current line. And as a result of doing these reviews, I've been doing a lot of research into the older Asics lines as well. Shout out to the Lockhart Boot Blog and Noah Cavanaugh's YouTube channel for providing me with a lot of that information. So I'm going and I'm reading, like, the X-Fly Pro 2 review and what that's like, and then I'm looking at the Pro 3 and like how they've changed that, and the X-Fly 5 being a good example, I think, of how they changed the heel and the external heel counter, and that is a very substantial change. It makes a big difference, but you haven't had to rework the entire goddamn boot, and you've created something that's actually really, really good by just making that tweak and the change. And people say, oh, the sole plate's the same. I'm like, but it's not, though. Like, you start to look at, again, the X-Fly 5 and how that sole plate changes. It's now better. And slightly off topic, like, we might get to this, but this sole plate, I don't want anybody to message me ever again and tell me that this is like the sole plate's too safe and it's not aggressive enough. Try the boot before you tell me that. Like, people just look at it. This has happened a lot to me recently since my my X-Fly 5 review went up, and people have been like, "Oh yeah, but the sole plate's not aggressive." I'm like, "Oh no, go and try it on. You will be surprised, shocked. I tell you, this is why it's important to try them."
It's all about, I think what it is designers, they get the pressure taken off themselves somewhat, and they don't have to innovate for the sake of innovation. They can take a step back, look at their product honestly, and go, okay, where can we improve? So it's about refining the product over time.
Yes.
The XY series has been around for a while now. The DS Lite series is in its 25th year. And okay, there's some DS Lite models I'd prefer to have over the current one, but like, where they've come from and where they are now, like, you can tell they've gradually gone, okay. So like, they made some missteps with the leather in the last couple of generations. So they said, okay, let's improve the leather on this without like changing the fit too much. There's a reason, like, you could argue it's partially because of the market, because Japanese consumers are very, very harsh with stuff that changes too much. But at the same time, like, they expect a certain level of performance, fit, and comfort that other brands don't seem to, like, other brands seem to get away with changing constantly, chopping and changing. Someone in the comments mentioned the Puma Future is a prime example of this. They've had some decent futures. They had some decent ideas. And then they're just like, just like swinging the axe wildly. They don't care who it hits or what it hits. They're, just as long as the axe is swung, they're satisfied.
Noah, do you have thoughts on the Puma Future by any chance?
I think the Puma Future needs to die. Like, the line just needs to go away. Go back to a proper, like, Power Cat or like an Evo Power. Yes. Like, resurrect a boot that well, actually, this is a hint for what's to come on my Instagram page, but excuse me, the new concept that I've been doing with like boots that I'll never sell, which is like a fun thing for me.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, these are never getting sold because I think they're just amazing. They're amazing.
Such good boots.
And also good. This colorway is like special to me.
Oh,
but
so good.
I just think that a boot like this is lighter than the new Future. So let's take like this versus the new Future. Here we go. Got one, which I've never
That's
really
a
worn
shame.
because I hate them so much. Yeah, so you look at the shape, you look at the fit, you look at the sole plate, you look at the materials, you look at the weight difference, you look at the heel area. There is not a single thing about this new football boot other than maybe you prefer knit over synthetic. There is not a single aspect of this new Future that is better than this. Period. End of story. Not a single aspect. Puma needs to okay, great update with the Puma King, the new one. Great update with the new Ultra. Nice job.
Shoot, yeah.
Kill this. This has to go. This has to go.
Yeah. Hey, Noah. Quick question. Footloose boots. Would I like to ask you how much?
I think Yuli, if he was here, would also want to know what the rainbow flickability score was for those boots.
Yeah, jeez.
That is definitely one of the. I have the Dragon Evo Speeds, which is a far worse boot than those, but I do regret not picking up the Evo Powers because those just colorway,
amazing.
Concept, idea, story, fit, feel, everything is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree on the Future. I used to be a big fan of the Future line, like when they first started with the NetFit and things like that.
Yeah, that was
like
a good idea.
The early NetFit boots, like the 1.2 or whatever it was. Okay, they had the silver and green one. That's the one I always remember.
Yeah.
That was a nice football boot. I enjoyed that. You could still definitely make an argument that Evo Power that was in your hand a second ago was better. But but I'm also hugely biased because I absolutely adore that boot. But yeah, some of the early Future kind of net fits I think were very good. And then we got to the 4.1, I want to call it. Puma's naming system always messes me up, whether it's 1.4 or 4.1, you know? It's 4.1, isn't it? It is. It's 4.1.
Yeah.
You got there, which is the one that launched in gray and orange with that like really hard material on the top of it. So that was, and from that point onwards, I think we've just been on a slippery slope. You'd argue that it came back a little bit with the launch of the Puma Future Z. Again, wasn't amazing, but decent. And then they've had some good iterations in there. The Future 5.1, I like that. That was very soft. That was very wide. I enjoyed that a lot. See, I like that. I know the Future line. Like I enjoyed them a lot. And then we've reached this point now with this boot where I don't even like putting it on. Like I still haven't done the review because I just don't want to wear it. Like I've got I showed Andrew this the other day. It's got long since I have literally a list of 30 reviews I need to do. It's either grip socks or boots or whatever, all things that I have that need to be done. And that Puma Future is on there, and it just keeps getting pushed down the list because I'm just like, I'll do something else. Like I don't want to wear it. Like I've been out for maybe 1 or 2 sessions in it, and I suppose I could do the review off that, but I don't want to. So I'll get there eventually. But yeah, I don't really know where we're going here. I just wanted to rant about the Future a little bit and how I think it's worse when you've had I think it's worse when when there's a silo you really like, and then they end up like basically binning it by just
this boot you love? We messed up every single thing you loved about it.
We messed single thing up about it.
Go to hell. Buy our stuff.
But I will 100% back Noah with this idea of bringing back an Evo Power or similar. Just you know what? If they could bring back the Adapt Light synthetic, like for a starter.
Synthetic.
There's another synthetic better than the Tiempo 10.
Yeah, significantly.
Another one. I'm gonna
and it's almost 10 years old at this point.
Yeah, that's gonna be our new thing. Every time, James, you release a video, I'm gonna on a synthetic boot of any sort. I'm gonna be. It's still better than the Tiempo 10.
I'm waiting for Noah's next like Instagram reel, which is just synthetics that are better than the Tiempo, and it's just this like mad reel of just like 500 boots that all shoot past in like 30 seconds.
just every synthetic boot in history. I'm like, you know what's better than Tiempo 10? This synthetic. Screw you.
Oh, you know what's crazy too? I don't think he's wrong with that one.
Oh dear.
So good.
As long as you don't break out the Vizara 2, I think we're fine.
I don't even have a pair of those, honestly.
You don't need a pair. Nobody needs a pair of those.
No, nobody needs a pair.
Yeah.
Don't touch them.
Yeah, no. I have been tempted a few times to buy a pair to do a review.
No, don't do it.
Literally to do like, because you can get them for like $10 sometimes when they pop up on like eBay and stuff.
Yeah.
And I just want to get a pair to literally do a video of the worst boots ever made, like, and just do that. But I already have enough stuff going on.
That's weird, because I seem to remember the Vapor 13 being the worst boots ever made.
Stop that. You and I are going to fall out again.
I have someone here to out-talk you on this point.
But no one likes the Vapor 13. He just broke his foot.
I think it's a great football boot. I just don't think it fits me.
Nope, it's crap.
There you go.
Crap. Noah, come on. You got injured because of it. It's crap. That's my rant.
Oh, how have we not said this? Proper boots in the chat. Kangalite. How do we not mention Kangalite when we were coming up with better synthetics?
Kangalite came out in what? 2009 originally?
CTR1.
I think. Yeah.
Oh, no. It was on Tiempo 3 Elite first. I have the pair of, the maroon ones.
No. It was on the Maestri first, and then they put it on the Tiempo 3 Elite.
Oh,
because I remember being in that meeting for that. But
got it.
But again, look at Kangalite, and like so many people, like this is the excuse I see. Like, well, think of the new Tiempo as the CTR4, but it's not, because a CTR4 would be better than this crap.
Yeah.
I think you and I have said on this podcast on numerous occasions that had Nike continued to innovate Kangalite from like when they launched it up until when did they kill it? CTR3? Was that the last boot with it?
Yep.
Yeah. So had they continued to innovate that material, we're kind of like everything's coming full circle. It's like we know what we're talking about. Like if they had continued to slowly innovate that Kangalite material, what we would have now would be an unbelievable synthetic. Like it would be something like, I don't know, something like Asics are using. But but that's where we would get. I do also want to bring up with the synthetics. So Teo Skills has asked a question, and this is it's a softball, but is the synthetic on the Yamatokyo better? And I think the short answer is significantly, significantly better.
Not even close. Yeah.
Yeah, not even close. The Yamatokyo, you can still tell it's not leather. Like whereas I said with the Asics. In my review, the DS Lite, it's so hard to tell the difference between them. You can tell the Yamatokyo is a synthetic rather than a leather, but it is an exceptional synthetic. I think it's very, very good for a synthetic leather.
And it's worth noting, I talked to Adler about those, and they want to get better about making synthetics like that.
Yes, please. Thank you. I would enjoy that a lot.
They feel the Yamatokyo needs to improve in that front. So it's like, oh my gosh, they've like look at the product that's good, and they feel like it needs to make some nice changes.
Yeah, mad, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, we have this good product. How do we make it better? Rather than, you know what, let's just rip it up and start again. However, let's move on to another point that's been brought up here, because I think that we need some balance in our shooting brands down. So this is from Burns_boots or BRNS_boots, who has said, what's with all the white Asics and Mizuno boots recently? Need more Japan blue and passion red. So I think this is a perfect thing for us to discuss. We have dunked on a lot of big brands and a lot of like mainstream brands. And I think that they've got a point, that all the Asics and Mizuno boots essentially are a white boot with a color.
Hello.
It's like, oh look, He's gonna
Look how
share.
good that blue is.
That looks
That
so
blue's
good. But this is the point, right? In that color, it looks amazing, but it turns out like everything just is white with an accent. And obviously, this could be partly due to the main market, the Japanese market. But do they need to do more? Do they need to do different? And importantly, do Asics and Mizuno go into Room 101 for their terrible colorway repetition? No.
Oh, another boot
Banner
with
in
a
the works.
counterpoint is this one.
Yeah.
This is a tough one because earlier I was saying like I don't know if I can counter my point earlier, because my point earlier was, yeah, but they all look really good. Like, I know it's not exciting, but they all look so good. Whether it's Asics with the white with the purple accent that they came out with for the Acros 3, or whether it's that like beautiful teal colorway that they followed it up with. There are so many. There's like an Asics, or there's a Mizuno colorway coming out in a couple months that's going to be amazing. Like they're very simple. I don't mind it because I understand the philosophy and I love the philosophy, and I really want Mizuno and Asics to sort of lean into that. That being said, I would love to see them both do a white boot with a colored accent every other colorway. So if you're going to release, maybe do like white and purple, and then do something crazy like that neon yellow or whatever, or red, or a something, a blue, whatever, and then go again to white and teal or white and red, something really simple. I think that cadence would be reasonable without making Mizuno or Asics feel like they were going overboard. That would be my suggestion.
Right.
But again, I don't hate the simple colors because I think they look beautiful.
Yeah, I do think they always look nice. I've marked them down sometimes though, because it does get repetitive. The thing that they used to do that really frustrated me is, like, Mizuno would release a colorway in Japan and say like, oh, it's inspired like this. So like, there is this clan called the Sonata clan that had a specific shade of red that they used for their armor and their flags and stuff. And in Japan, they're like, this is based on the Sonata clan. And everyone's like, that's really cool. And then overseas, they're like, oh, this is just a red we use that it kind of reminds you of like the sunset or something. It's like, no, lean into your history, lean into the Japanese of your brand. That's what people want to see. And there's so many opportunities to do something crazy. Like, a good example of this turning to kits is like Japan's 2018 World Cup uniform that had like the little lines. The whole idea behind that is because it looked like the threads you used when you assembled samurai armor. And it's like, that's really cool. Lean into stuff like that. Like, there's so many very unique and interesting colorways. There's a lot of really cool stuff being done here. Allbirds has a Japan-only shade of blue that they do. And basically, they have this workshop with this guy, Watanabe Nandake. I forgot his first name. But it's a certain shade of blue and dyeing production that he does. And they set up a whole like event around it. And it's like, do more stuff like that. You have these really unique shades of colors in Japanese history. You know, if you don't want to just do white, lean into that. It'll sell well in Japan because people like their history here, their own culture. It'll sell well overseas because Japan's soft power is incredible right now. Like, just do stuff like that. And I think they could make some absolute bangers.
For sure. I think that's a great shout. And I kind of agree with Noah in terms of like, keep doing the white boots with the accent color because they look fantastic. But definitely throw us like something a little bit different more often. And if they can do that using what you're saying, Andrew, I think that would be even better. And I don't know why they wouldn't lean into the Japanese element of things when they are like outside of Japan, because people love a story with their boots. People love this kind of stuff. Any detail, if you can tell me the detail of why a certain red is red, I think that's fantastic. Adidas have completely lost the color red apparently, so it's should be fun.
I think part of it, just as an aside, I think part of it is Japanese people are pretty proud of themselves in a lot of ways, but they seem to get surprised a lot when people outside of Japan are very appreciative of their culture. Like, they know a few people would be, but like when they hear how popular Japan's becoming, it's like kind of a shock to them. Like, they don't understand what kind of cultural impact they have on the world. And I think, and brands are fairly wise to that, but it's like, lean into it more. Always lean into it more.
For sure. I think that kind of leads us on nicely to something which I don't think was suggested, which boggles me, but I think we definitely need to discuss it. We don't need to go too detailed because we discuss it a lot, but just simply there being too many colorways. Like the amount of colorways that are dropped, we are at 20 Predators, not including remakes, I think. We are already at something like, I think, 8 or 9 F50s, and we're only 4 months into the F50. Adidas are obviously the prime culprits for this, just going absolutely insane. And so before I hand over, I definitely want to say something. And the thing that gets me about this as a boot enthusiast is that it is literally sucking my enthusiasm away. Like, there is too much and too many colorways to the point where I'm just like, as another one, I don't care. Like, and that's such a, and I notice myself doing it, and it's such it's like a bad feeling. It's like they're making me feel bad for not caring, but they're the ones making me not care. Like, I want to be excited about new boots and new colorways and things like that because of everything I do in the world of, like, on the side and outside of, like, my family. I love football boots and I love talking boots and I love, getting together, doing the podcast with you people who also love boots. It's such a great community. I love making videos, and the brands with the amount of colorways that they release are making me like not enjoy it. They're taking the enjoyment out of a new colorway, out of a new boot, because there's just so many of them. And I know we spoke a lot about various other elements of it, but I just wanted to bring that up because it kind of does, like, it's not even annoying me. It's like a sadness. Like, it makes me sad that I'm not excited about a boot. And people are like, oh, you see this new boot? I'm like, cool. Like, sure. There's another one. Like, I don't know. Brands are making me sad. That's my point. Noah, do you have, what's your take on this colorways? I'm going to call it a debacle that we have going on, particularly with Puma, Adidas. Nike have been all right recently, but you never know. We throw them in there as well. They have a tendency to do dumb crap.
I think, simply put as well, the more colorways you put out, the more room for shitty colorways you have. And so if you put out less colorways, you won't produce shitty colors. And then your resale market all of a sudden becomes so much stronger because the colorways you have put out are incredible. Imagine Adidas releasing the Trent Pred as the launch, then they do the Japan Blue Pred, they do the Rotero in however way, because that's obviously a special edition, and then maybe they do a blackout and whiteout, and that's like the only 5 that we get for 2024. The resale values would be so much, like, the boot market would be so excited about them because they're like, oh my god, what are they doing next? But instead they've released all these intermittent colorways, which are fine, but they're like, whatever. Like, it is what it is. What I also think, this is sort of a tangential topic as well, but James, when you were talking, it reminded me a lot of that, like, my frustration with the constant limited edition colorway releases, which is just creating false scarcity. Like, it's just not, it's not, what are you doing? So my theory is release less colorways and you'll get better response from people and more hype because it's actual scarcity, not synthetic scarcity.
Yeah. I've brought this up before, like right before I started working retail. Brands were just getting to a point where people were waiting at, like, lining up outside doors for new releases.
Totally.
And now there's not a chance people would do that. Like 10 years ago when I was still working retail, I talked to some of the brands about maybe starting to do midnight launches of stuff and trying to get the okays to like do a limited midnight relaunch of things and like, build up hype for this stuff. But I couldn't imagine trying to do that now. There's just too much stuff. Like, who cares? And again, I've mentioned this several times. It's exactly like the comics industry in the early 90s. They saw that comics were becoming more valuable. So they made like every damn comic a limited edition with like a holographic front cover or something included in it. And just all of them worth nothing.
Yeah.
Because when everything's limited edition, nothing is limited edition.
100%.
For
Come
sure.
back to Mizuno for a second as well. So these are obviously, I have both of you tried these, the DNA. So let's take this boot for example. So the Morelia DNA is an actual limited edition boot, and it is for anybody who's a boot nerd, this is like the greatest thing that's ever been created, and there's a reason for that. And they only ever had 2 colorways. They were super simple. And it's like, you didn't overdo it. You didn't create this, create a ton of hype. Everyone loved it. And then you're like, okay, we're going to flood the market with these, because then it wouldn't be special anymore. And it's like, Mizuno needs to make these again. I know I just said they shouldn't, but they should.
But again, it's a limited edition boot, and they kept it limited edition. Oh, James, I love the ambient background noise.
Can you hear my ambient background noise now? I am also being rained on. Like, I have genuinely got like rain coming in. So this is going very well. Hopefully it will calm down a little bit. I apologize if it gets too bad. We might have to cut short, but so you guys keep me informed. I just want to touch on 2 comments just in the chat here. One is Paul Gomez, who says, would you guys be okay with more colorways if the cycles were longer? And the other kind of is THO says, I think there's something you guys aren't considering. Because of the significant colorways of the Predator, it's gotten way easier to get an FT model. So here is my thoughts on both of those. If cycles were longer, and you took the colorways, then technically there wouldn't be more colorways. So for example, what I mean is right now you have the Predator and it's 20 colorways over the course of 12 months. If we don't get any more, which we will. Had you taken that cycle over 2 years, we know we're going to get a new one in December, January, and released the same amount of colorways, you've got 10 colorways a year. It's still too many, but it's, in essence, less colorways over the time period. So yes, I would be okay with that because you're putting over 2 years. But instead, what we're going to get is 20 colorways for this Predator, and then probably 20 more colorways for the Predator next year, which is madness. And then in terms of switching that to what THO is saying there, what I'm not suggesting is that brands release less colorways in very less limited quantities. Yeah. So you release those 5 colorways that Noah's talking about, but in more quantity. So you're still going to have the same opportunity to get the FT model, just in one of 5 colorways rather than one of 20 colorways. That's where I am with those 2. There we go.
I will say with the FT as well, like in Japan, bizarrely, we haven't gotten many of the FTs. We've gotten very, very few of them. And so it's still really, really hard to get them. So we haven't been flooded with the FTs here. We've been flooded with all the other colorways, but not the FTs. You're
going to have to stop saying the word flood, Andrew, otherwise this is going to go horribly wrong for me.
Too soon, dude. Too soon.
Sorry.
Okay. Let's get up. So in the chat, let us know anything else that you think needs to go into Room 101, things that should be absolutely binned off in the football boot world right now. And I am going to have a look at other things that we have on the list. Here we go. This is one that I'm definitely going to go with. So this is Billy. So this is PDL24DCP on Instagram. Is Billy. He might be in the chat. He sometimes is. Sizing. Consistent sizing. He actually says consistent sizing and price increases and an inability to get AG easily in the States. These are all perfectly good topics, but I am concerned for time and the fact I might flood. So let's go with consistent sizing. And this both, I think, is between brands and also within individual brands. How would you mess your sizing so badly? I think this is good for a rant. Noah, what do you think?
So I actually might go a slightly different route with this one. So one is in my collection for the football boot size guide that I put together for people. What I noticed is that your centimeter sizing, or your Japan sizing is what it usually ends up being, is super consistent. So whether Adidas calls it a 9.5, Nike calls it a 9, whoever calls it whatever, it's all, for me, it's all like a 27 centimeters or a 27.5 centimeters. It's super consistent. And so there is consistency in the actual length of the football boots, which is great because you can, measurements are hopefully pretty consistent. I do actually think it's okay. I wish there was a little bit more cohesion in that space, but I do think that there is an argument to be made about multiple different types of sizing, because then there's kind of something for everyone. Then there's kind of something, okay, I don't really fit in Adidas sizing, but I actually really fit in Nike sizing, so I can go with a Nike boot. Or the Sokito boot fits a little bit small, but that's fine because I can fit, like Andrew was saying in his blog post about it, like that, and in his review, like that one is okay. You could go half size up, but it fits me really well because I like tight football boots. Like, I think I think that argument is more my speed of like, I'm actually okay with it. But if you want consistent sizing, don't bother with like US or Euro sizing or UK sizing. Go with your like centimeter size.
Yeah, that's normally a pretty safe bet. And you've also completely taken the wind out of the sails for this argument. But
Sorry.
no, the problem is, like, a lot of people are buying stuff online and you can't get the centimeter sizing, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah.
So I kind of am an advocate of centimeter sizing supremacy, and I think every brand everywhere should just kill off Euro, US, whatever sizing and just stick to centimeters.
You can't argue with it, right? It's like it's either 20 centimeters or it's 21 centimeters. Like, you measure it.
Yep. Yeah, you literally measure it.
So I agree, but I also don't agree. So I'm going to use Puma as my example. Puma's sizing is a mess, because you can go and buy a variety of Puma boots, like their top end boots right now. Like, I do not wear the same size in their top end boots. My foot doesn't change size, but sometimes I need to get, essentially it's a UK 6.5. Sometimes I have to get a 7, depending on the boot. And then not only that, you take something like the Ultra, the carbon and the non-carbon fit differently. Now, we'll give, and I mean in length, like I mean they are literally a different length, despite saying they're the same length on the box. They're not. Like, do I wear the same size in both of them? Yes, I do. But they are physically different. And like I say, I'm wearing half size down in those, but I'm wearing like true to size. So I'd be wearing 6.5 in those. I'd be wearing a 7 in the, I'm talking UK sizes here, in the King, for example. And the King, for a lot of people, they could probably go half size up. Like, so this is where I think, for me, the problem comes in. I agree, like, centimeter sizing is definitely your friend, and the way to go. But I think when brands are so inconsistent across their size profile. It's insane. I don't think Adidas are too bad. I can pretty much guarantee that that's going to work. Nike tends to be okay. And it's interesting what Noah said, actually, that like sometimes a brand does fit you better in general. So like Nike boots, it doesn't matter what I do, I can't quite get them to fit me perfectly. Like if I get a US 8, UK 7, there's a little bit of room on the end. If I get a US 7.5, UK 6.5, they're too small. Like, and I can't, they hurt. Like, you know, they are physically too small. Whereas an Adidas boot, if I get a US 7.5, UK 7, perfection. Like almost every time. Is absolutely bang on. And the Asics, like technically is like a half size down. UK 7.5, US 7.5, UK 6.5. So perfect. So yeah, they're fine. I just think that within brands, Puma, for example, you shouldn't, like, I could realistically go and buy a 6.5 in an Ultra and a 7.5 in a King, and both of them fit me correctly, which is stupid. Like, and then I'm like, and you can literally line them up next to each other and they're different in lengths. It's like, why is that a thing? Honestly, I'm probably just having a go at Puma here because I don't think anybody else is doing this. I'm like thinking about it as like, you know, we're talking about brands as a whole and this idea of consistent sizing. I'm like, you know what, this could just be Puma.
Skechers is the same.
Yeah.
SKX fits true to size, and Razor fits a half a size small.
Yeah, that's true. There you go.
But oh well.
I think of every. You know what? I think of everything so that we're, you know, at least not ranting about everything. I think we don't put that one into Room 101. I think that one gets a pass. I think we have proven that if you use Japanese sizing, check out some awesome reviews from some people who might be on screen right now who'll give you some great advice. Yeah, I think that's a good one. Okay, I'm just having a quick look here at the old chat, see if there's anything else that's down here that anybody wants to get in. Okay, let's do takedown. So proper boots. I feel like Nike and Puma have always done a decent job of making pro models good and sharing old tech. But Adidas, don't get me started. So, as our final piece, I think, takedown models. What do we expect from them? And do any brands and their takedown models belong in Room 101? Is anybody doing it well? Is anyone doing it badly? No.
The only takedown models, to be honest, that I even have any sort of experience with are Mizuno's, and that's their elite models, which are as good as the elite models of every other brand.
Model.
Yeah. In fact, I wouldn't even call them a takedown. What I told somebody the other day, and maybe we've talked about this on another podcast, but let's take, you know, top end Nike, top end Skechers, top end Adidas, top end whatever, Mizuno elite models, and then everything else above it is made in Japan Mizuno. So made in Japan Mizuno is like a completely different tier than everything else. So to be honest, I don't have many thoughts about it. I just my hope for a takedown model is that it would simply prioritize, if you weren't going to include all the tech and stuff from your top end models, just prioritize the comfort and the fit. Because at the end of the day, takedown models are for, number one, people who are maybe a lot younger and don't want to spend the money to buy a top end model because they're growing. You know, I didn't have a top end model. I wasn't allowed to buy one until my feet stopped growing. So that's one camp. The other camp is just a person who is a weekend warrior and wants to play footy with their mates, and they don't want to spend 260 euros on a pair of football boots. In both of those camps, and please add to these camps as well, but I think the same logic would apply. Comfort and performance are going to be the best. Comfort and fit are going to be the most important thing for those two types of people, period. Regardless of kind of where you sit on that on those categories. So for me, that's the biggest thing that I would hope. But again, I sort of need to take a step back because I haven't really tried a lot of takedown models.
James pulling out a takedown model.
Sorry. I have a variety of takedown models right now. So I have been testing more takedown models. So I have the new Luna Pro, which is an interesting one. I haven't even tested these yet. I haven't worn them. But it's essentially, they've just taken away the grip knit. So like I quite like that. And it's slightly different outsole material. So I have decent hopes for that. The one that I have tried that I do like is here, and that is the new the Mercurial. This one. So this is a good takedown. This essentially gets rid of grip knit, gives you fly knit instead. And I really like when brands do like the previous gen's top end stuff on the next gen's takedown.
Yeah.
So this has been quite impressive. So there's no there's not like a big AirPod, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this. They do have a heel-based AirPod. So it's like, like the old T90s, the laser ones had like that heel AirPod. It's the same as that. So they have that in the heel. It doesn't do a great deal, but it's kind of there for, so they can put air in big letters on the back. But these are all pro.
Nike's always done a good job with their pro level models.
Yeah, well,
like consistently.
You say
except for the Tiempo Pro.
Tiempo Pro, which does this.
Yeah.
So that's a hot pile of garbage. But yeah, for me, I have my issue with takedowns at the moment is those Luna Pro takedowns I showed you are €180. That's insane.
That's the price of a Sakito if you trade
Sorry,
in your
€170. There's a €10 difference between a Sakito and those. You're talking about Mizuno like elite level models. They're €200. They're €30 more expensive than those Luna Pros, which isn't. They've just bumped the price too much. I think Nike have bumped the price too much of takedown models to make them a viable option until they go into sale. Which means that your first viable takedown model, if you want to buy the newest thing, really is an academy level boot. And they've started stripping away so much at that point that I do tend to find them hard to recommend. Pro level models are great, but they're charging too much for them, way too much for them, and that's kind of my issue with them. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of takedowns recently. It's been kind of fun just to try something different. And Nike, I think still Nike are kind of like kings of the takedown, although the new Adidas F50 takedowns are very good. They're like they've come a long way since. So notoriously, old Adidas takedowns had a really stupidly shallow heel. So they've kind of started to move away from that, which is good. And Puma King Pro. Puma King Pro is a takedown. That is a good football boot. It's nothing like the actual King Ultimate, but that doesn't even matter. It's fantastic. It's got U-throat, floating tongue. It's actually got like a stitching pattern on the front, so like a kind of more traditional, slightly padded leather feel rather than the K-Beta that's on the Ultimate. Puma King Pro. That's a very good takedown model. I don't really know what the point was here, to be honest, but I'm just saying that like takedown models, Puma takedown models are a good price. You can recommend those. Nike ones are too expensive. There we go. Andrew, thoughts?
It's funny. Everybody used to have really good takedown models. Like Adidas used to have some amazing takedown models when the Preds were still around. They always had really nice leather on their takedowns. So, that's I don't know. Recently, they haven't been as great. Adidas, Nike seems to be doing good job, but they're too expensive. So,
I think there's definitely something to be said for being able to get like going back to the leather takedowns tend to be of a very good quality because they can be broken in to be soft and all that kind of stuff. So I think leather takedowns, not having those available is probably probably hurting the takedown market for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely.
Did we lose Noah? Because I can't see Noah.
Oh, I'm still
I think
here. I'm just the battery on my camera died.
Disaster. That's okay.
I know.
So the Boot
There
Zone
we go.
has just joined us. Good morning, good
Nice.
afternoon, good evening. Hello, the Boot Zone, and thank you everybody for joining us. I think we can wrap that up before Noah's camera gives up again, and I get flooded.
There's one last thing.
But Andrew has one last thing.
Somebody brought up in the chat about flexible sole plates, overly flexible sole plates.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to point something out because, so there is this movement of like these barefooted runners and stuff, and they're moving into performance sports and things like that. Not that running's not a performance sport, but like team sports, I should say. And like Code Footwear is one, and I know they've been designing basketball shoes and some soccer shoes and stuff like that. I just want to say, so these guys say they're using science and stuff like that. I know for a fact that Adler, got to bring in the Adler mention.
There they
I know
are.
for a fact that Adler has been working very closely with sports scientists on how boots should perform and things like that. And look how stiff their midfoot is. Like midfoot on on the Yatagar shoe especially, which is their leading model. Like the others are more flexible because they don't have a midfoot shank. But like if they're working with all these doctors and podiatrists and things like that, and they're saying you need to have a stiffer midfoot, you need to have something like a Carvo insert, that really should be saying something about these other barefoot king guys and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think this is actually, I'm glad you brought this up actually, because obviously I did videos recently. I did the Puma King Pro review, and then I got a lot of kind of pushback on that review, should we say. So then I made a second video because,
Pro.
Tempo Pro, sorry. I'm not one to hide. So I made a second video on the sole plate, and that that it bent and it shouldn't do that and all that kind of stuff. And again, there's a lot of people who are under the impression that you should have a flexible sole plate on a pair of football boots. And at some point, I need to try and get hold of somebody, a doctor, somebody who can be a biomechanist. Like, technically, that is what my degree's in. But anyway, it doesn't have the same authority coming from me, who can say, like, pull it apart. But I can tell you from wearing hundreds and hundreds of different pairs of football boots that from a purely performance standpoint, a stable midfoot and heel is essential to the performance of a football boot. And that's what I'm reviewing. And this, I tried to say this to a lot of people. I'm like, look, you've come here for a review of a football boot. Now, whether you agree or disagree with me with what you want on your football boot is irrelevant. Like, I could like really flexible, free-feeling football boots. But I'm reviewing these boots based on performance. And to get the best possible performance, and therefore the best possible responsiveness out of my football boot to feel stable when I'm running, cutting, and planting, I want a stable midfoot and heel. So I'm really trying to get this point across that, and I think some of this comes to people not understanding, and this might hark back to what we were talking about last week, Andrew, reviews. And how how a good reviewer would review something. I'm not reviewing something, so I'm not telling you what I like about the boot. That is not the sole purpose of a review. I'm not sitting there going, oh, this is what I like about a football boot. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying this is how this boot performs, and this is the information I'm giving you. And then while I'm doing that, at points I'll be like, oh, I really like this. But what I'm actually telling you is, how does this boot perform? And to do that, I need to tell you whether it's responsive. And in order to get the best responsiveness and stability and performance out of a boot, I need the midfoot and heel to be stable. As I say, I would love a biomechanist to break this down for me and tell me exactly how that works and all that kind of stuff. But that's how I feel about it. And it kind of, a lot of it, I think, leans on people not understanding what kind of this. It's a wonderful circle. It goes back to what Noah was saying at the very, very beginning. Not understanding what we do, how we do it, how much time goes into it, and thinking that essentially we're just telling you what we think of a football boot, and we're not. There's so much time and effort and like analytical thinking that goes into developing a review, and some of that is based on the stability of the goddamn midfoot. I know that I watched your review recently, Noah, on the Premiere. You did a second month review on the gold Premieres, and you had a very similar issue to what I have with the Tiempo Pro, where it's a very flexible midfoot. So I would love to get your thoughts and your kind of like take on the flexible midfoot and why you're not a fan of it, and kind of why you're working in that way.
Yeah, I think with the rise in synthetic pitches, which I realize certain countries now, I think the Netherlands just put this into place a couple months ago, but that no more synthetic pitches in their country because they realize how bad it is for your body, and especially the younger generation coming up playing. Youth soccer is really, I think you have an exponential increase in injuries when you have really difficult and hard pitches. So when a brand produces something that actually influences the loading on your feet, your ankles, your joints and stuff, like that Premier or like your Tiempo Pro, you lose a lot of the ability to perform well and not have your joints, ankles, etc., in pain after a match or a training session. And obviously young kids are rubber, right? They'll bounce back. It'll be really easy. It's whatever. Like they can kind of do whatever, but the lasting, like I'm feeling the lasting effects now as a player. Anytime I go and play on synthetic pitches now, it's a pretty, how do I say? It's a very mindful choice of what I'm actually going to properly train in because of that reason, because the body doesn't respond well to such a difficult pitch. And so when a boot comes through my testing process and it bends in half and twists and whatever, it's like, well, what's the point? Like, what's the point of having performance footwear if it doesn't perform? Like that seems like a completely antithetical way of producing stuff. And I realize it's cheaper because it's less material or it's less whatever. But that's just a cop out and that's bullshit. So I think creating, again, I think to your point, the forefoot can be flexible and I think needs to be and should be flexible. That's actually one thing that I think that sort of on the other end of the spectrum, that's what the Puma Ultra 5 Carbon got wrong, was that the forefoot of that one is also as stiff as the midfoot. And so you have no flexibility and it's actually quite difficult to really like play in those. And so you have to strike this perfect balance of, whatever you're going to make, right? You need a good amount of stiffness in that midfoot, but then the forefoot flexes. And that's what talking with, I mean, I've spoken with the podiatrist that consults with ASICs here in Australia, because a lot of their, if you watch any of their, or any of my reviews on Swift Strike, things that are Menace 4, all the boots that are particular to the Australian market and the Oceania market, all of the ASICS boots have little tags on them that are endorsed by podiatrists and stuff, because they've consulted these people to make boots that are very, very healthy and particular for a person's foot. And that's coming from a country that actually has majority firm ground pitches, not artificial ground pitches. And so being that mindful of foot health and stuff is, I think, something that, maybe brands don't have to go that far, but it's like, it helps and it pays off, because the Swift Strike is one of the most comfortable football boots on the market, and no one knows about it because they don't want to deal with, oh, well, it looks a certain way, or it's got a heel lift in it, or it's got whatever. It's like, but if you play in them, you'll realize that they are really good for your foot, and they have all the aspects of things. Yeah.
I think the closest thing outside of those for ASICs is probably the Ultreza.
Totally. Totally.
Because Trezza is an extremely supportive, extremely comfortable boot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit. It looks, again, they look clunky, but playing them and you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to point
totally.
out, THO in the comments said, or in the chat said, I'm a med student, can't claim doctor yet, but mainly biomechanically, it's about energy transfer, stiffer, less loss. Secondly, lateral movement and excessive pronation is reduced to prevent strains. Furthermore, there's a kinetic chain going from heel to knee to hip that, if misaligned due to bending sole plates, will seriously fuck you up.
There we go.
That's perfect.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Nice.
Just to reference TL Skills said about, are those Victory insoles any good? I've never tried them. Paul Gomez says maybe James could review insoles. I could if they weren't €100 a pair.
That reminds me, I still need to. It's not even summer anymore, and I'm still looking at these heat reduction insoles that I found over here.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
Figure out how to make it.
Something actually you mentioned with the Ultra 5 Carbon there that I definitely want to mention is, so I wore them to do like a few kind of test sessions, and I was like, okay, and I recorded my review, and then I went out and I played a match in them, because like it's just a mad boot. I want to wear that boot. It's so mad. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to play a match in these. So it was only 7 aside, but I went out, played the match, and I literally had to come home and cut an additional thing into my review, because it's exactly what you're saying about the forefoot not really bending. Foot fatigue. It's so much effort to force that boot to bend and then like take off and then bend, and all the way through playing a game. My foot isn't built to do that. It's a lot of stress to actually put so much pressure through that forefoot being so stiff. So yeah, I literally had to come home and be like, okay, I'm happy with the review, but I need to mention this like foot fatigue thing that I felt because of how stiff that forefoot was. But yeah, so thank you everybody for your comments, for joining us. There has been a huge number of you on with us today. There's been over 100 of you, which we absolutely appreciate. If you are watching this on the replay, please let us know down in the comments your thoughts, anything that you would put into Room 101, and of course, like the video and get subscribed to the channel. Speaking of channels, obviously we have the mighty Noah Cavanaugh with us today. Noah, could you, if nobody's watching this who isn't already subscribed to you, I'm sure of it, but if by some chance there isn't, where can the people find you, Noah?
On YouTube, just at Noah Cavanaugh, and then Instagram is at Noah.Cavanaugh.
Perfect. And Andrew, would you like to give your usual long and detailed explanation of where people can find you?
Lockhart Bit Blog, Lockhart Bit Blog.
There we go.
Instagram and blog.
Noah, thank you so much for joining us. It is always an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Absolutely.
Insights were fantastic. This was a perfect topic for you, I feel.
Yep. Absolutely, and we only scratched the surface. So,
dude, I was literally just thinking. I was like, I feel like we need to do this again.
Yeah, definitely.
We will set that up. We'll do another one, and again, let us know down in the comments what you think should go into Room 101. We will discuss it next time. We will get Noah back on, and we will go from there. But that's all from us today, guys. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you soon.
See ya.